Go-karting is such a fun sport. I remember as a kid going to save up my money for my paper route to a track just outside of Regina, Saskatchewan. And here we are just outside of the Halifax Exhibition Centre. Kartbahn has a storied history here in Halifax. It was indoors. It's now outside just off the Prospect Road. And Lucas, the man behind this project, is a professional race engineer who was also a professional race car driver. And these are set up not for competition, but for fun. But of course there's competition when you involve anything with an engine and two people with a passion. He's going to teach me a little bit. Now he's going to teach me a lot. He's going to school me, as the kids say. For folks who may know the name Kartbahn, we're outside. Kartbahn was inside for what, almost 25 years? Was it?
Yeah, 1997, October 97 until September of 2021.
And that was a business you started?
It was, yeah. I was in university at the time. And,
okay.
Basically, the Coles Note version is that I knew I wasn't going to be a dean's list, and I wanted to be an engineer with a bit of a personality, so I thought I'd get into business for 4 years.
Right.
Fast forward 24 years later.
And fast forward to, what, 2021? What happened? How did things change?
Well, basically the opportunity was there with the building. Obviously, it's steel wheels now, so there was an opportunity to do something with the building. And I was actually looking forward to the time where I could sort of move Kartbahn to a building or lease a space where it wasn't necessarily attached with the property. So unfortunately, this is all post-COVID, not very many buildings involved. I found a really good retail space that was willing to do something, but then somebody came in and was obviously willing to do more retail stuff, so I lost that opportunity. Luckily, I kind of had the outdoor karting bit in the back of my head, and yeah, it kind of came together quickly. The reopening of Kartbahn came a little bit slower, but as far as the track build and all that kind of stuff, came pretty quick.
What was involved with laying down the asphalt and getting this ready? Because this is a track that's used by go-karts, and we'll talk about this in a second. Yep. Go-karts and competitive racing.
That's right.
Competitive karting.
Yep.
So what was the design? Is similar to what you had before? Where did that all come from?
Well, it's completely different from what we had indoors. This area that we're looking at was actually at one point, back when the exhibition center, or when they did the winter exhibition and all that kind of stuff, this was actually an overflow parking lot. So while it wasn't track suitable, it was more or less cleared what we see here. Basically, the whole area had to be regraded. There had to be some draining up further the parking lot side, which is directly off the Prospect Road. And once it was graded, we kind of went out and mapped out where the track was. I already knew from, satellite views and so on what we could do. We're actually quite fortunate, because as you look behind us, you can see that the track goes downwards, which essentially means that we have no drainage issues. If it rains up top, it basically is flowing almost perfectly off the racing line. It does cross the track in some places, but not where it's causing any sort of havoc.
So you said this whole track is 600 meters?
600 meters, yeah.
So just over half a kilometer.
Yep.
So based on the math, what, 50 seconds you said is fairly quick?
Well, we say if somebody comes here for the first time and they're able to do in 50 seconds or under 50, they're doing fairly decently. To get somebody already below 50, they've sort of figured things out.
Okay.
An ultimate fast lap is 42 seconds. So you think like 8 seconds, that's, it's another 20% faster. But there's enough corners. There's 12 corners around the track. Some of the slower ones are actually the most challenging ones. And then the ones that are fast, you can really only get right. When you really understand things. So.
Right. Well, I think we should do a little run, and you can show me what the line's supposed to look like.
Sure.
And then I'm sure I will fail spectacularly, either trying to pass or trying to keep from being passed by you. Sort of like wearing socks and bowling shoes. You got to put something special on. How does that look? Terrible.
You know what? I'm going to give you the one that has the tinted. Just try that on, and then...
Yeah. There we go.
Okay, slide that in. Good.
Yep.
Perfect. And that's just a zip.
Oh, it's a clip. All right. So the brakes on the axle?
It is, yeah. So, you know, the trick to driving actually in a go-kart is actually to lean your weight outward, not inward, outward.
Oh, so if you're going around the turn, you lean out?
Yeah, you lean out.
That seems counterintuitive.
It is, yeah, and I tell you the reason why is that if you think about driving around the track, the inside wheel makes a tighter radius around the track, right? So, and because it's a straight axle, that means that both tires are going the same, and it's always going to default to what the outside is. So, just because it has a longer distance, so you go around the track, you can't make the outside go any shorter. So what happens? The inside wheel starts to
So you lean.
So you lean outside, so you lift the weight off the inside axle.
All right.
Puts more on the outside, and you're able to drive.
Good to know.
It's very counterintuitive. Very counterintuitive.
Well, yeah. So on a motorcycle, you're forced to lean, or else you're not on the bike anymore.
Yeah, but think about when you turn on a bike, you're not turning. When you're on a bike, you're not turning like this. You're going like this.
You're leaning.
Yeah, you're leaning, but you're also the more you turn opposite the way you're turning,
Countersteer.
the easier the bike goes down.
Right.
Right. And it's again, that's something that's counterintuitive, especially somebody who drives slow around a bike. They're kind of like going like this, and then somebody who's fast, it goes, you know. So, and hold the steering,
And then
just slide yourself down.
Plant. Right.
And then the nice seatbelt here goes on.
Yep.
This side, it's kind of like for everybody who's traveled before, it's like an airplane.
Right up.
And that's basically it. You can make this a little bit tighter. Not too tight because we don't want it to raise above your, that's
So I
perfect
have to
like
be able
that.
to lean.
And your pedals are in good position, so gas and brake. Do you like that? Actually, you know what? We like to see a little bit more bending in your knee, so we'll go like this.
Okay.
Okay? Perfect. You look like a pro. So what I'll do is I'll show you the racing line. I'll just drive ahead.
Yep.
Ready to go?
I'm ready to go.
I'll drive slowly, and I'll give you guidance here.
Sounds good. So these machines I'm looking at is pretty intuitive. I'm assuming that's because you have to make it as visually simple and straightforward as possible.
Yep.
Green for go, red for no.
That's right. So gas on the right, brake on the left. The carts are quite adjustable, so there's a pedal adjustment here, which adjusts the pedal, a good probably 8 to 10 inches, and then the seat can move back and forth about another 4 or 5 inches.
So that's the little red handles for the pedal
red
adjustment.
handle there, yeah.
Okay.
See if I can do this here. That's
Okay.
full forward, and full back is all the way back.
Very
here.
simple.
Right. So.
Okay.
And then the seat does the same thing. There's a handle there, the seat moves back and forth. The seat belts are on there per mandate and so on. So.
That looks to me it's covered, but a standard Honda motor that you would pick up for a lawnmower or a rototiller.
Yeah, I would
except
say
for the shaft is probably coming out
sideways.
Sideways.
Yeah. So this is an overhead valve motor. You'd have a pretty powerful lawnmower if you probably had this motor on, but maybe your neighbors would like you because you get your lawn done faster, so less noise. But this is a 9 horsepower.
Okay.
It's a GX 270, so 270cc. It has a wet clutch on it with a 2-to-1 gear reduction. So that basically means that at 4,000 RPM, the axle's only spinning 2,000 RPM, and then you have a further gear in the back, which is then also reducing the speed. And obviously the bigger the ratio, so small front, big rear, means that you're going to have better, off the corner, and the closer they become sort of to a 1-to-1 ratio, the faster it is in a straight line.
When people come out here to learn it, do you give them instruction? Do you just say, have at it, give her, and see how it turns out?
So what's funny about it is that in the olden days, like say for instance when Kart Fun was indoors, we used to talk a lot about safety-related stuff, like staying in the cart.
Right.
Checkered flag means this, blue flag means that, yellow, and so on and so forth. The thing is, with our race safety system, what we're able to do actually is shorten up that part because we're able to control the carts and the speed and so on. Unfortunately, we can't control somebody's reaction to wanting to stand up. Okay, so they have to stay seated. That's really important.
Yeah.
Knowing where the gas and the brake is, your steering wheel, haha, you know, that kind of stuff.
Right.
But what we actually do is we spend a lot of time talking about how to master the track. And it's not that necessarily that we want to drive or we want to see people drive fast. It's that we want to see people drive controlled.
These cones that we have on the inside is where you want to aim. And if you notice, it's on the back side of the corner. So you have to brake, stay wide, and turn a little bit later so that you come up the back side. You don't really want to go wide to this corner.
Right.
You want to go shallow because the next corner is to the other side.
Okay.
Okay, follow along. All the way to the outside. Come across, brake here, and then turn over here for this. Like that, and then again we're going wide. This corner here we have to brake early, turn late, and that's one lap, basically.
You're a race engineer. That's your career. That's your vocation.
It is.
You started as a race driver, as you mentioned, almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, more than 20 years ago. 20 years ago, I stopped racing.
So what is it about the sport? What is it about that lifestyle? You mentioned your father is also involved. How did that all come together? Where's the origin story there, if we were going to write the comic book?
Basically, what happened was my father was racing bikes in the 70s. Stopped when my sister and I were born, and then decided to get back into it. Not into bikes, but into cars, basically late 80s. So we followed him around, throughout North America and so on. I'd already been racing or been doing motocross and that kind of stuff from about 5 years old. I liked the speed. I liked falling because I did a lot of that. But essentially what happened is I decided to get into karting. He at that point decided, you know what, this is your turn. Bowed out of driving, and that started, I guess, in '93. My first professional race, which was in Formula Ford, was actually over here in Shearwater at the Moosehead Grand Prix. And from there, I basically just went through all the different levels of racing. I did GT stuff over in Europe. I did Formula cars all over North America.
And I'll let you pass.
There's no catching this guy.
You need to be a little bit wider to turn into the cones, and then here I can slide up the inside like this.
He totally got me on that one.
Go ahead.
The technology in racing changed a lot between the mid-90s and early 2000s because everything was being done and assessed 100% by feel. You know, if I was your race engineer, I would talk to you afterwards. Well, how did it feel? And we still do this. But I would set up the car based on what you said.
Right. And if I don't know, or if I don't have the experience, or I'm wrong,
then you might go in the wrong direction. So fast forward a few years, data acquisition became popular. I was using the data quite a bit to learn for myself, to figure out what I could do for the car to make it better. I was driving, but I was also still thinking about, so-called customer cars. I was racing still, I had Kartbahn going, and I was worried about customers, and I really wasn't, I didn't get the same enjoyment out of the driving. I stuck with Kartbahn because Kartbahn was really the grassroots. This is what brought everybody into racing.
Right.
As a matter of fact, while this track was being built, I was working on an all-electric Formula 4 car. It's the only one that's ever been approved by the FIA, which is the high level of motorsports. And this is what we all say, is that you race the track, you don't race the person. If you're constantly racing the person, you're going to go the exact same speed as that person, and there's going to be zero possibility of you being able to pass. It doesn't matter how wide the track is or what have you. It's just go-karting is basically same motor. Well, it is all the same motor, same tire, and same legal weight. So that means to say that say in kid racing, where you tend to see the big difference in weights, a 40-pound kid is ballasted up to the same weight as an 80-pound kid. And usually, if everything's done properly, the 80-pound kid also has to be ballasted, so that they're not at a disadvantage, that everybody has to come up to the same weight, and they have the same horsepower, and then it comes really down to driving and racing line.
And turn into the apex. At speed, you'll be able to go quite a bit faster through there. And here I can almost drive around the outside of you. And then here, as expected, you're going to turn late. Oh, very good, very good. And I can drive around the outside.
Like I'm standing still.
We actually quasi-control things or make things limited.
I
do that electronically.
I see a box in the back,
Yep.
and I see a little red counter. I am assuming that the sensor at the front is laps.
Yeah, so this is just a lap timer. We
So
use
there's
my
a-
lap so that you can, basically at the end of your session, you can see how you did on every lap. And with our, like Kartbahn also has a timing app. So you, as long as you register it for it, basically what you can do afterwards, you can see every single time you're on the track, every lap time that you've accomplished. And they will have come the first time and maybe done a 51-second lap. And then we say, okay, if somebody's breaking 50 seconds the first time out, they're doing a good job. Then they get to 45 and you're saying, okay, now you're really pushing it. And then that last 3 seconds, sort of 45 to 42 seconds, becomes very, very hard to achieve. And this is part of the karting side of things. That's not the go-karting, that's the karting
That's
side.
the karting side. What's the difference between a go-kart and a competitive kart?
So we've always considered Kartbahn more karting than go-karting. So in my mind, or the way that I differentiate is go-karting tends to be more of a family leisure kind of thing, where you're maybe limited to 10 miles an hour or 10 kilometers or 15 kilometers an hour, and you have side-by-side karts and that kind of stuff. And it really doesn't matter, because the speed and the design of the track, it really doesn't matter where you drive. Whereas Kartbahn, or karting as I consider it, it's more performance-based, it's more driving-based, a racing line, as well as knowing where to brake and where to accelerate, becomes more of what the activity is about.
Come on.
What was that?
You're a great driver.
It's
Oh my
fun,
goodness. You know what you're doing. There's no question.
Yeah,
It's like I'm not even here.
it's a few laps. A few laps helps.
Yeah. What was that? 7 laps?
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
You're warm, eh?
It is hot, and these things are responsible, very responsible. But just like you showed me, if you can keep your momentum, it works a lot better.
Yeah, and the tendency is, even when you were coming along here, you probably thought you were on the wall.
But I wasn't.
You were about that far off.
Yeah.
This device at the back, you say it's in some ways a limiter. It's part of the safety system as well?
Yeah, this is called Race Safety. It's a European company. There are a lot of different systems that are available for the go-karting industry, and initially we started out with go-kart, with the gas karts and then electric karts, without having any limits as far as safety limits. We were the safety limit.
Right.
So basically what happened is, when somebody was on the track and they spun out, you essentially had to jump on the track, tell everybody slow, 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 and kind of guide them over, kind of the way a marshal would at a racetrack, okay? Then it moved into something called a D-Heart system, which is a radio frequency type system, where essentially you have a controller, you can choose people's karts, but essentially if somebody spun out here, you basically just hit slow, would slow everybody on the track. You were always within RF range of the people on the track. Very easy to control, very simple. Outdoors, we have a lot more ground to cover. RF doesn't work as well for the bottom side of the track if you're standing at the top, and then somebody who's on the bottom side of the track is being affected by somebody at the top side of the track.
And they're going, "What's going on?"
And people start to get annoyed.
Yeah.
So along comes race safety. This little box, like you see at the end of on the back of the seat, communicate wireless with our timing system. Essentially, we track on our system the location as well as the speed of every single kart. And we know if somebody's in zone 1, zone 2, whatever, on the track. And when somebody spins off, it shows red, as in like somebody's off. And we can right away see if zone 2, we know zone 2 is from this corner to the back. So you just kind of have to look over there. Oh yeah, no, sure enough, somebody's parked on the side. Parked, maybe they're going to be able to go on their own, or maybe they're stuck because they put themselves straight off the track and the karts don't have reverse.
No reverse. Yeah.
So as soon as they're off track, essentially what happens is the computer says, hey, you know what? They're below a certain threshold speed. That means the next kart that comes in, whatever distance that we specify. So if this is the fast section here, so if it's one of the bottom corners, that means that essentially at 75 meters or 100 meters before the actual site where the person's parked on the side of the road, the next person gets slowed down autonomously.
Right.
The moment they pass by the other cart,
They can go.
it goes full speed.
Right.
That means somebody who's up here at the top side of the track doesn't even know what's happening down there until they're in range.
I can see where this is addicting.
It is.
It's really easy to be excited, and you're right. It takes a lot out of you just trying to focus and hold the cart.
And for I mean, my youngest right now is 10 years old. And she's been karting since 7. And the way that she gets in, the cart, like her race cart, is like an appendage.
Yeah.
It really is. She gets in and she just goes.
You know, my wife was a bike racer. We're very much a motorsport family.
Yep.
But when it comes to the kids in karting, safety is absolute paramount. We want the kids to be involved in motorsports, but not ever at the cost of either being able to getting scared of it or hurting themselves. Or education is key with everything. It's key with driving. It's key with any type of sport. Like if you don't know how to stretch, if you're a runner, you're always going to be injured.
Right.
And it's the same thing with racing. If you don't know where the racing line is, you're going to either be at your own peril or at somebody else's.
So if you just let it roll, we'll just sort of park against the wall here.
Okay, yep.
Just let it, it's probably not even going to move. Go here as well. You can see how much, look, if I turn, how it slows down.
Oh, I'm winning.
If I leave the wheel straight,
I'm winning.
you're winning, yeah. Just turn against the wall. That's fine. No park here.
That squeaking is not the cart, it's me. We're there. Solid as a rock.
There you go.